All right. Guess everybody's got some refreshments. Go to the restroom. So, tonight's program, we've been talking a lot already about Field Day. Field Day's coming up here, weekend after this coming weekend. So, I've invited Steve Frazier to give us a talk about logging with N3FJP, and this is the actual software that we use for Field Day. So.
Okay, thank you. John asked me a couple of months ago if I would do this, and part of it was because I think I did it, I was looking back through my information, I did this back in 18. I said, yeah, I'll do it, because I still got a presentation from 18. But I went through and I figured a few things, but I mean, who here, I'm trying to say, who here has not used N3FJP? Okay, we do have a few. Okay, that's good. It is a pretty common program. It's nice. It's kind of, it can either be standalone. It doesn't have to be, on the internet, but it can be networked, which is what we're going to do this year. We've tried it a few times, and we'll try it again. If it doesn't work, then we can just use it independently. When Pam heard that we're going to be doing this, he said, you got to wrote the program, you got to get a presentation on how to use this for Field Day. And I said, no, I didn't know that. But that was one of the things I had before. So let me start by playing the video from YouTube from the guy who wrote the program, and then I'll add a little bit more to it. So let's see if this works.
Hi, my name is Scott, N3FJP. And in this video, I'd like to give you a brief tutorial of how to use my ARRL Field Day contest log and just a little bit about Field Day in general. Now, this isn't going to be an exhaustive overview of every feature within the program. This is just going to be enough to introduce you to the software. So if you're new, you'll know enough to get started and be able to use the software just fine and be able to roll right along with the Field Day event. If you're new to amateur radio, radio is magic. There are physics that explain it, and if you get into the math and science and all that, it's amazing in that way as well. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is we are communicating around the country and potentially around the world when conditions are right and beyond, with nothing more than a radio and a wire or piece of metal antenna, and there is no other connection. So what is Field Day all about? The main emphasis of Field Day is operating under emergency conditions and often in a remote or temporary setup. We all are trying to make as many contacts as we can. Another emphasis is to demonstrate how amateur radio works and to show new people, look, we can talk all around the country or the world. And to be able to make that point, having contacts rolling in really shows that off, as well as our sections that change color when worked, and our map, which I'll show you in just a moment, and some other things. So we'll get to it. Let's say you've arrived at the Field Day site and someone has either asked you to operate or log for them, and you're wondering what the heck's going on. Using my Field Day software is really easy. I think you'll pick it up right away. There's just three parts to the exchange. It includes the call, the class, which is just a number and a letter, and the section, which is going to be one of these abbreviations that you see over here, or DX. So, for example, if we work W1AW, they would send you a value here, such as 3 echo, and they would probably say Connecticut. And you would type those pieces of information in, you'd press the enter key, and it is logged, and you're ready for the next contact. That's all there is to it. Just a couple things that I can show you to make life even easier. You can tab between fields by pressing spacebar or the tab key, but you don't even have to do that. If you type a call, now I'm not even going to press spacebar tab, I'm just going to type the next number and letter, 1 delta, and I'm going to now type the section, MDC, and the program just jumps from one field to the next. So it's smart enough to know what you're entering and jumps right along. And press enter, it's in, and you're ready for the next contact. Here's an example of how you would log a QSO.
CQ Field Day, November 3, Fox, Juliet, Papa.
Kilo Alpha 3, Yankee Juliet Mike.
Kilo Alpha 3, Yankee Juliet Mike. Please copy 1 Echo, Mike Delta Charlie.
QSL, please copy 1 Delta, Mike Delta Charlie.
QSL, thanks for the contact. CQ Field Day, November 3, Foxtrot, Juliet, Papa.
Now, let's say you've entered a contact, but you realize you made a mistake. Let's say that you realized KA3SEQ had a class of 1 Echo, not 1 Delta. You can just click on the contact, and you can edit the contact, or you can delete it if you want to wipe it out entirely by clicking the delete button. But we're just going to edit it. So we'll click Edit, and we'll change 1 Delta to 1 Echo, and we'll click Done, and voila. So that's all there is to editing a contact. The rules for Field Day allow us to work stations once per band and mode. So we can work the same station on a number of different bands and modes, but we can't work them on the same band and mode. So, for example, if we just worked W1AW on 10 meter phone, we cannot work them again. So if we start to type W1AW, there's going to be some information presented to us that's going to help us either determine it quickly whether it's a duplicate or not, and maybe help us figure out what the call sign might be if we have super check partial enabled, which you can enable from the settings menu. So we will type W, and we see immediately that if the call is W1AW, it's possibly a duplicate. That comes up as you type the first character. As you type the second character, we now have typed W1. We see W1AW is in red, meaning it's a possible duplicate. We also have a list of all super check partial call signs. And what super check partial call signs are calls that are known to be active contesters. So if you're not quite sure, if you hear the call right and then you see it listed as a super check partial, it gives you a little more confidence that you have the correct call sign. So as we type W1, then we add the A, you see possible duplicates, and partials are still listed, and there we go. We have pretty good confidence that it's a duplicate. If we try to tab to the next field,
duplicate,
my wife lets us know in no uncertain terms that it is a duplicate. That was courtesy KA3SEQ. So we hit escape, clear the fields, clear, and we're set to go. Now here's an example where if you type W1, but it might be Alpha Foxtrot. So okay, this doesn't say possible duplicate anymore. It just says super check partial. It changed back to gray. There's no red, so we know that we can go ahead and work this station. Another nice feature of the software is if you have worked a station on another band or mode, you don't have to type all the elements of the exchange again. For example, we've worked W1AW on 10 meter phone. If we happen to be on 15 meter phone and W1AW calls us again, as you can see it's not red this time, it's just showing up as a super check partial. It doesn't say possible duplicate. So we know we're fine to work them. If we press the space bar to tab, 3 Echo Connecticut's already in, so we don't have to type anything else. Another feature of the software is the sections, which are listed over here, change color when they are worked. In this case, we're looking at a old Field Day log from, I believe this was 2013, and we worked almost all of the sections, but here's an example. The blue sections are worked. Alaska we did not work, but just to give you an example, see it's currently red. If I type KL7AA, 1 Echo, and I type AK, the software immediately tells us that, hey, that's a new section. And if we press enter and watch this, it turns blue. So that's a lot of fun. Sections are not counted as multipliers for Field Day. They are in some other contests, but in this case, it's just a handy way to demonstrate to anyone stopping by. Look at all the areas that we've worked. So that's the intent behind that. You can also mouse over each section to see how many times and on what bands you've worked a section. For example, we can mouse over, say, Georgia 10 times, 40 twice, 27 times, 15 one time. 4 of those contacts were CW and 6 of them were phone. Another neat feature to display the areas that you've contacted is the map feature. If you click View, Map, it will fill, and every section will be colored except for those that were unworked. And as you can see, we've worked just about all of North America with just the exception of a couple places. And another neat feature is the graph, which shows just how well you've been doing, what your QSO rates have been. Again, this is old data that we're looking at, but this shows green is phone, blue is CW, and these colors here indicate what bands we were on at various times. So as you can see, we had a nice little run up to, had our QSO rate up to 93 Qs per hour, which isn't bad for a single transmitter station. And we switched over to CW for a while. We took a break, and then on Sunday we got rolling again on phone. So this demonstrates how we did over the course of the contest. If you need to change bands or modes, you can certainly use rig interface, and this software will follow along with the rig, and I have more details on that if you'd like to set that up. But to change bands, you can just click and select the band, select a mode, and you're ready to go. You can also click these guys and they'll cycle through by left clicking and right clicking. So enjoy Field Day, have fun. If you hear N3FJP, please say hi. Again, my name is Scott. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. God bless.
That does covered it pretty well, but see, I added a few more things. Whoops. All right. You may ask, where can you get this? Just go to N3FJP.com. That's the home page, and then you can go under contest logs, and then contest logs, ARL contest logs, and then Field Day, and then just download it like with any other program. Let's see here. Once it's set up, it installs pretty quick and easy. Then you can go into the settings, and that's just right up here. And the main thing that you're going to want to do is the setup. And in the setup, you put in the call sign. If I'm correct, we're using W4EM from Oso Joe. Is that what we're doing? Okay. This should already be set. This is something we just have to do once at each station. But the nice thing is, when you put it in, and down here at the bottom is where it shows on the screen all the time, so that when you're working the station, when we're getting back your response, it's right here in front of you, just read it back. Joe normally has some cards for us too that we can put in front of us. The main thing is you're going to put in the call. You put in the call, I think it automatically fills in this other information as far as the zones and coordinates and all that. We put in our class, and the section would be Tennessee. If you're not familiar with Field Day, some of the states are broken up into different sections, like there's that NCX, which is North Texas. Some of the California is broken up into several. That's just some examples. Another thing that's fairly important is the operator. If we're going to have different people, working the same station, same location, computer, it's good to put in your information so that number one, you get credit for it. If we have somebody that gets a lot of contact, it'd be nice to know who did that, and just if there's some question about one of the entries, maybe we could go back and see who put it in and clarify the entry.
Steve?
Yeah.
Three-letter initials. First, middle, and last.
Okay.
We had too many duplicates with just two letters.
Okay. All right. So three-letter initials, and you can either do that. You would do it first on the setup, but if that station's been working for a while, you can also go up here where it says operator, and it just pops up where you put in the operator and their initials. So that's really about all I had on this program. It is pretty simple. We are going to try to set up I say try, it should work, but sometimes we've had some problems with whatever, but if we've got a network that we're able to do, then, we can see, even though we're doing different stations, we're doing different things, if sometimes at night, sometimes we'll kind of switch over or something like that, so that'll help us see what somebody else might have worked at that station earlier in the day, so we're not getting duplicates. Yeah. Anybody have any questions on the software? Yeah.
Well, not so much on the software, just general information. What is class?
Class is the number is how many radios are at that event. Like we're going to have 4, so we'll be a 4, and then A is because we're working on emergency power. Yeah. It's now if you're working from home, you would be a 1D. You would be you're working your one radio, and from your domicile, from domestic. You can look on the Field Day website and see the different. The main thing is that the number tells you how many radios are at that Field Day event. Most of them are 4 or 5. You'll get some big clubs. I think there's one time I worked at like 10. I said, holy cow, man!
27 is the largest. If you figure out all the bands, the 3 modes, you can get. We've had 27A, 27. 27A.
27. Yeah. I had 10. I was kind of impressed when I wasn't at 10. So, okay. Software or involved in Field Day in general.
One thing, Steve, if you change, say you're working 20 phones, and you decided, well, there's nobody out here, everybody's gone home, I'm going to go over to 40. But you didn't realize there's somebody already over there on 40. It's going to pop up and tell you that there's another station, another radio on 40 megahertz.
On the network that's working 40. Okay. And if you do switch, and be sure, if you do switch your radio, be sure you switch the software. I've done that for a while. I'll be working because usually I work 15 and 80, and I'll switch and I'm like, oh God, I know the last few I had it entered in as 15, but I've switched over to 80, and I'll go back and I know which ones they were. A lot of people, you can do this if you're thinking about coming, if you're interested in coming to Field Day, that you're a little intimidated about getting on the radio. Every operator could use somebody helping them along. That's an important thing. It'll help you if you're not comfortable with actually getting on the air. Most people either have a speaker there, or I try to kind of I'll bring two headsets and have a splitter or something where everybody can listen. It's, it's great to have somebody helping you along. And, either do it on the computer or write it down and then type it in later, or, whichever works. So, Field Day is a great time. I think it's one of the best things that having people do in general, and I think it's a great time for the club. It's a good time to sit and talk with somebody that you haven't maybe got to know real well. It's the first time I got on the air. I'm going to be doing the GOTA. That one's low pressure. It's usually kind of work with you. You'll learn. If you haven't done anything like Field Day or the contest before, it's mainly getting into a rhythm. You got to find, especially on voice, you got to find that rhythm. And GOTA is a good time to do that. But like I said, if you haven't done it, or a family member or a friend or something, I had a nephew. My brother brought his son. My nephew came and he worked and talked to somebody in Hawaii. He lit up. So it's fun. What I did before, and I thought it was a good time to do it again, just real quick. After Field Day, if you get interested in contests, a good website for seeing most of the ham radio contests is contestcalendar.com. And the way that's set up is you can see either the next 8 days, monthly or perpetual. There's different calendars, there's different ways that you can see the different upcoming events. This is an example. If you get into the 8 day, it'll show the previous 8 days, the current 8 days, and the next 8 days. And what I took a screenshot of here is for the week that's going to have Field Day, so that you can see there. It shows the different contests. The bars right there show you how many hours that it is. So if you're thinking about one, what I like to do is some of the ones that are longer, because usually find some time where you can get in and if nothing else, listen. If you're not comfortable doing a contest, but you got a radio, this is a good time to know when you can listen and see what another contest is like and how it's handled. You can click on it. If you see one that's like Field Day, you think, I wonder what Field Day is. You can click on it, and it'll show you the information. It'll show you, in fact, hey, that's answering your question about the class. A is for clubs. B is for 1 or 2 person portables. C is mobile. D is home. E is home working with emergency power. That's your answer to your classes there. But it gives you some more detailed information about what the contest is doing. A good one to look at, if you're listening to some contest, the exchange, some of them, there's one contest where you get your favorite color or something. So what the heck is everybody saying the colors for? Or they'll give the year that they got your license in. It's just something that you're recording, that you send in with your log, so that y'all can both see that you agree on the information that was exchanged. But that's just some more information, and it actually gives you a link for the website where you can get even more detail about the contest. One thing that I like about this one is you can customize it. There at the far end at the top, you can click on Customize, and you can go through and there's some that you may not be interested in, but there's some that like Alaska QSO party. If you wanted to maybe hear, if you're needing to get Alaska QSO party might be a good time to listen in on that one and see what's going on. So once you customize what you want to do, what it basically does is filter out everything else, and then when you're looking at like this was looking at the year calendar, it will show you for the year when those contests are going to be done. So if you're kind of interested in that, that's something where you might do that and maybe even print that out and say, I've done that before. You know, do this one where I've highlighted the ones I'm interested in and print it out and set it next to my radio when I'm in there and look down and go, oh, shoot, yeah, this is when such and such contest is going on, and listen in. Now, once you've logged all this stuff, another thing that I thought was kind of interesting to share was how you can map. I'm a map person. I don't know. For some reason, I still like map. So there's this website, LEVINECentral.com. You can download almost all log entries that you do. You can generate a ADIF file. Usually, that's how you share the information or save it or whatever. So you can once you've done a contest or even just any logging that you do, you can download the file, and then you can choose that file, put in your home grid, and say upload and map, and it'll generate a map like that. You know, so that's kind of neat. You know, when your family member says, "What in the world are you doing in that room all day long?" You know, you can go, "What? Who should I talk to this week?" You can download it for the week, for the month, or you know, just whatever you want to do. But you know, you can do that now. You know, that's just kind of neat, and then that kind of helps you with you know, seeing how your antenna is doing and different things. You can see it that way. Now, another thing that you can do, once you've done that, you can download, that gives you the option to download it as a KML file, or you could, there are programs where you can convert your ADIF file to a KML file, and if you want to get really nerdy, you can put it on Google Earth and see it that way. You know, I think that's pretty cool. That gives you, in fact, I think I've still got it up here. Yeah, that gives you the perspective in a totally different way. Let's see what happens. It's still going to the, all right. That's just kind of neat, because then you can move Google Earth around and say, it is a long way to southern Australia, you know. And my radio is there. And then once you've done that, you can, you know, zoom in on the different details. All right, that's it. Anybody have anything else that they?
One thing, Steve, might go back to mention on the logging program, because of the propagation aspects, we may work some foreign countries. And on the logging program, there is one spot for DX, and that gets everything that's not in the United States or Canada. So if you happen to work Italians or French or anybody like that, they would all be lump summed under DX on the N3FJP program.
All right. I was just trying. I had Google Earth up at home, but since I'm not on the internet, I thought I could say that's just. I thought I could move that one around. But
hey, Steve.
it's not going to work on me.
Yeah. I know you're trying to focus on the logging, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's helpful to just kind of understand what's actually going on for those that have never done that on HF before.
Yeah.
You might be surprised. It's not a usual like, hey, how's it going over there at Hickory Hill kind of thing. It's a very specific thing. They want specific information, and they're kind of quick. They're polite, but they're quick.
Yeah. Any concept. Yeah. Any concept. That's why it kind of goes back to the ring thing.
Right.
If you say, oh man, I'm over here in Tennessee, we're going North Carolina were neighbors, and hey, how you doing in the game, and all that stuff. No, they're gonna. Now, I will say, since you're gonna be working late at night. About that 2 o'clock in the morning, when that guy sounds like he's going to sleep, you go, well, how's it going? Well, okay. Sometimes you do chat. I do. I'll chat a little bit at night.
If the band's not busy.
Yeah, the band's not busy, and you know, if you're calling out CQ, somebody answers, you go, whoa, hey, Bob, you know. And he said, well, I'm surprised I got somebody, you know, then, yeah, you can chat a little bit, but yeah, just kind of feel that one out.
Yeah, if you haven't never done field day before and operated, when it starts at 1 o'clock, you're not going to be able to get a word in edgewise.
That's great.
So, you know, if you're operating the radio, you just go around and find somebody strong that's above everybody else and you work them. Now, if you're out there at 2 o'clock in the morning, then you can find a blank space on the band and start calling CQ and let people find you. But when it starts, it's going to be, if you've never heard it before, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I can't. So don't get excited. That's why it's best if you're new and not been on HF before, then you need to sit with somebody who is accompanied.
Best thing to do is sit with somebody and log first.
Right.
Log for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can switch, because the person that's operating is going to get tired after a period of time.
Yeah.
And then you switch with them. And that's the way to really learn, and you're going to say, well, I don't know the sections. Well, most of the sections are states other than California, New York, New Jersey, Texas,
Florida,
Pennsylvania.
It always throws me out, but Maryland, D.C. throws me out.
Maryland,
Yeah, Maryland,
D.C.,
MDC.
But we'll have a sheet of paper that'll have the sections.
Yeah.
California is going to be the hardest ones.
Yeah, because you're going to have things like Santa Barbara and
There's 10 sections in California alone.
San Joaquin Valley, and
Yeah, I've worked years past. I've worked Guam and places like that on field day because everybody comes out on field day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I've worked Guam on one frequency, so one time, and turn right around and work Puerto Rico, and then go back and work Hawaii. So
and for some reason, if you can't come out to us, you can't. And if you're if you're licensed for it, you got the radio, so you can do it from home yourself, and you'd be probably be a 1D. You can do it yourself, so do that. We're out there with free food. We're out there.
You cannot, if you're coming to field day, you cannot operate the radio from field day and then go home and operate it.
Oh, okay. That's a good point.
You cannot make a contact with Delta Club if you had operated it as Delta Club.
Yeah, you can't give that. You can't go mobile as you drive away and give the field day operation a contact.
Right.
Now you can go home and operate as a 1 Delta.
But cannot count field day because you've already operated from Delta Club.
But you can't like on mobile. You can't give them a call contact.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so some of the things, like somebody said something about pileup. You'll hear about pileup.
Yeah.
You'll hear about park and bark and smile and nod. Or dial and smile, yeah.
But that's why you have two. It's important to have two people, the operator and the logger, listening to what's going on, because if the operator doesn't catch the call, the logger may catch it.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So,
park and bark is usually somebody that stays on the frequency. He's just calling out CQ, and you try to contact him. And that's actually a good one to. If you're not comfortable with it, I've done that before. I've listened to him for a while, him or her. Excuse me. Listen to that operator, and that way you can write down their call sign, their section, and everything. You can write down all that, and then when you do get them, then you're ready.
And that's another,
that works.
that's another thing. We need some ladies.
Yeah.
Because over time, I've learned that these stations get these ladies to come in and operate because most of the guys, if they hear a lady's voice, they're going to go for it. So we need some ladies to get out there and put some time in.
Yeah, that's true.
And these different bands and modes that you use in CWD, you have specific frequencies, or you just work the whole band?
That goes with the
That's the license that you're operating.
well, that goes with the dial and smile. You're dialing through the frequencies, and you're smiling. You're trying to be the one to get that guy's attention. So that's the dial and smile.
If I want to listen, how do I find it?
If you're trying to find, if you're at home and you're trying to find this, you turn on the radio and the whole thing is going to be crazy.
We'll be operating under extra class frequencies, so it's the whole ham band available to us.
No, you get it on, and that's the other reason why I showed that concept. If you're on the radio at home some other time when you hear it, and it sounds like it's going crazy, and you think, I wonder what contest this is, and you can go to that website and see what the contest probably is and find out, how long it's going to last and what they're doing. Anything else? Bring a lunch, bring your own chair, please, that helps. That way you stay longer. Bug spray, especially if you're going to be working all night, don't forget your bug spray.
Yes, sir.
And
mental aid as well.
This might be a sidebar question. Can somebody show me how to set up communication between the logging program and WS?
There you go.
JT?
Network loggers.
Yeah, we can do that when we get out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's simple.
just an
It's simple.
API.
As long as you got a Wi-Fi, or you going to?
Yeah, I'm going to set up a Wi-Fi router.
It's simple.
Okay.
The only thing you have to remember is we set up each computer. We have to refer it back to wherever they're going to store the information. You have a main.
have a host computer.
And once you get all of them like that, when he first put out his equipment, it was a booger to set up.
Yeah.
Before he changed all this stuff. I've been using for years. I mean, I used to set up the network, so I used to spend weeks before Field Day in my shop with 10 computers set up someplace, making sure I had everything. But now, with the way he's got it set up, it's as long as you get what the host computer is, right?
Yeah, and I think he's doing digital, so from the FT8 to WSJTX.
He's doing another program.
There's a section in there to allow UDP requests.
Yeah, that's why
all you got to do.
Oh, yeah, setting up the FT8 so that it's, We'll help you with that.
Okay.
No problem. Yeah, so it'll send the right exchange.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, anything else? I appreciate it. Thank you. Hand off from previous president to current president.
Well, didn't you hear? Happy retirement. All right. Well, thank you, Steve, for taking the time to run through those questions about logging. Does anybody have any other questions or comments about Field Day or anything else that we've talked about or not talked about tonight? Okay. All right. So thank you guys for coming out. Again, I know it's a busy time right now, but we look forward to seeing everybody at Field Day in a little over a week and a half. If you can, make sure to push in your chairs and kind of clean up your area a little bit. And then, thank you for coming. Have a good night.